The upscale restaurant glowed with warm golden lights, casting elegant shadows throughout the dining room. A single father in an old shirt brought his young daughter for dinner, but staff and other customers whispered mockingly, "What are these poor people doing here?" The little girl tugged her father's hand and said softly, "It's okay, Daddy. We can leave." Her father stood up slowly with quiet dignity. What happened next caught the attention of a billionaire CEO sitting nearby, changing everything forever. Meet James Walker, 36 years old, single father with brown hair, tall frame, wearing an old but clean business shirt. His daughter Emily, 8 years old, was adorable and loved drawing pictures for her daddy. James had once been a talented technology engineer, but left his high-paying corporate position after his wife died to focus entirely on raising Emily. Now he worked part-time jobs to make ends meet, with finances always tight. Emily often asked innocent questions. "Daddy, are you sad that we're not rich like other people?" James would smile gently. "No, sweetheart. As long as we have each other, we have everything." That evening, James decided to take his daughter to a nice restaurant to celebrate her birthday, even though money was extremely tight. When they walked through the entrance, several customers snickered quietly, and the server hesitated. "Are you sure you want to dine here, sir?" James maintained his composure and held Emily's hand firmly. "I made a reservation." They sat down at their assigned table while judgmental stares followed them from every direction. James could feel the weight of disapproval from other diners who clearly thought they didn't belong in such an upscale establishment. Emily seemed oblivious to the hostile atmosphere, chatting excitedly about her school day and the birthday cake she hoped to have later. "Daddy, this place is so pretty," she said, admiring the crystal chandeliers and elegant table settings. "Yes, it is, sweetheart, and you deserve to experience beautiful things." James had saved for weeks to afford this dinner, working extra hours at his part-time jobs and skipping meals himself to make sure Emily could have this special birthday experience. He watched other families around them, all dressed in expensive clothing and talking casually about luxury vacations and private schools. James felt the familiar sting of not being able to provide those things for Emily, but he pushed the feeling aside. What mattered was showing his daughter that she deserved to be treated with respect and dignity, regardless of their financial situation. In her small backpack, Emily had carefully packed a special surprise for her father. Emily pulled out a drawing from her backpack, 2 stick figures eating in a restaurant with the words, "Happy Birthday, Daddy," written in her careful handwriting. James felt his throat tighten with emotion, realizing she thought today was his birthday, not hers. Her innocent generosity in that moment nearly brought him to tears. When the menu arrived, James carefully studied the prices and chose the least expensive items available, trying to stretch their limited budget as far as possible. Emily was cheerfully oblivious to their financial constraints, but the serving staff continued whispering among themselves, "These two really don't fit in here." A table of wealthy customers nearby began making loud comments. How pathetic, they can only afford the cheapest things on the menu. "Look at his shirt. It's clearly been washed too many times. I bet they're using a coupon or something." Emily's smile gradually faded as she began to understand that people were talking about them in an unkind way. She looked down at her own simple dress, suddenly self-conscious about her appearance. "Daddy," she whispered, "are we doing something wrong?" James took her small hand in his. "No, sweetheart. We have every right to be here, just like anyone else." The cruel comments continued getting louder and more obvious, with some diners pointing discreetly in their direction. "They're probably going to struggle to pay the bill. This is what happens when restaurants don't have dress codes." Emily's eyes began filling with tears as she heard the mean words. She tugged gently on her father's sleeve. "It's okay, Daddy. We can leave." James felt his heart break at his daughter's willingness to sacrifice her special dinner to avoid causing him embarrassment. He pulled her closer and said firmly, "No, Emily, Don't let anyone teach you that your worth is determined by how much money we have. At a corner table across the restaurant, Clara Hayes, 32 years old, CEO of a major technology corporation, had been quietly observing the entire interaction. She was beautiful, elegantly dressed, and commanded respect wherever she went. But something about James's quiet dignity caught her attention. Clara recognized the familiar look of determination in James's eyes, the same expression she had seen in her own mirror during her early career when people doubted her capabilities. When the group of customers continued their cruel commentary, James spoke calmly but firmly. Please don't teach my daughter that a person's value is measured by the amount of money they spend on dinner. His words created an uncomfortable silence at the nearby tables. Clara found herself smiling slightly, impressed by his composure under pressure. She had built her billion-dollar company by recognizing talent and character in unexpected places, and something told her this man possessed both qualities in abundance. As James comforted Emily and helped her regain her confidence, Clara made a mental note to keep watching this interesting father-daughter pair. She could see that Emily was asking her father something in a worried voice, though she couldn't hear the exact words. Whatever Emily had said made James's expression grow even more protective and determined. Clara had attended countless business dinners where powerful people treated servers and staff with casual disrespect, but she had never seen someone maintain such grace while being actively humiliated by strangers. Most people in James's situation would have either left in embarrassment or responded with anger. Instead, he was using the moment to teach his daughter about self-worth and dignity. When Emily turned to ask quietly, "Daddy, why do people hate us?" James replied softly, "They don't hate us, sweetheart. We just need to keep our dignity and show them who we really are." What neither of them knew was that someone very powerful was about to give them that exact opportunity. Just as the tension in the restaurant reached its peak, an unexpected crisis occurred that would change everything. The restaurant's electronic payment system suddenly malfunctioned, leaving customers unable to pay with credit cards and causing growing frustration throughout the dining room. The manager and staff were panicking as they realized their entire point-of-sale system had crashed during the busiest evening of the week. "We need to call a technician," the manager said frantically. "This could take hours to fix." Customers began complaining loudly about the inconvenience, with some threatening to leave without paying. James quietly observed the staff struggling with the electronic terminals and recognized the problem immediately from his engineering background. He approached the manager hesitantly. "Excuse me, I might be able to help with your system." The manager looked at James skeptically, taking in his modest appearance. "Are you a technician, sir?" "I have experience with electronic systems," James replied diplomatically. After a brief examination of the terminal, James quickly identified the issue and made several precise adjustments to the circuit board and software configuration. Within minutes, the entire system was running smoothly again. The manager stared in amazement. "How did you know how to do that?" That's when Clara Hayes stood up from her corner table and walked over with a knowing smile. "Of course he knew," she said confidently. "This is James Walker, isn't it? Former head systems engineer at Hayes Tech Corporation?" The restaurant fell silent as every head turned toward them. The customers who had been mocking James just minutes earlier now looked confused and embarrassed. James nodded modestly. "That was my previous career. I left the corporate world to focus on raising my daughter." Claire's expression grew warm with respect. A father who gave up prestige and high salary to be present for his child. There's nothing shameful about that. It's the most admirable choice a person can make. Emily hugged her father's arm tightly, beaming with pride. "My daddy is a hero." The entire restaurant fell into respectful silence as people began to understand the magnitude of their misjudgment. Several customers who had been making cruel comments now looked down at their plates in shame. Clara continued speaking, ensuring everyone could hear. James was one of the most brilliant engineers in the technology sector before he made the personal sacrifice to prioritize his family. He designed systems that are still being used by major corporations today, but he chose love over career advancement. The atmosphere in the restaurant completely transformed as people realized they had been mocking someone far more accomplished than themselves. A young businessman who had been particularly cruel earlier approached their table. "Sir, I owe you an apology. I spoke out of ignorance and cruelty." James graciously accepted the apology. "No harm done. We all make assumptions sometimes." The restaurant manager insisted on comping their entire meal and personally thanking James for solving their technical crisis. "You saved our entire evening, sir. I don't know how to thank you properly." Clara watched these interactions with growing admiration for James's humility and grace. Even while being vindicated and recognized, he remained focused on Emily's comfort and happiness, rather than savoring his moment of triumph. Emily was practically glowing with pride as she watched other adults treat her father with the respect he deserved. A food blogger who had been dining at the restaurant took a photo of Clara shaking James's hand while Emily beamed beside them. The image would later go viral on social media with the caption, "When a billionaire CEO recognizes true character in a single father." But in that moment, James was simply grateful that his daughter was learning an important lesson about standing up for yourself with dignity and grace. Clara quietly asked James if they could continue their conversation, sensing an opportunity to offer him something that could change both their lives. A journalist who happened to be dining at the restaurant captured the moment when Clara shook James's hand while Emily hugged her father tightly. The photo went viral with the headline, "Single Dad's Hidden Genius Impresses Billionaire CEO." But the real story was just beginning to unfold. After the dramatic revelation, Claire invited James and Emily to join her at her table for the remainder of their dinner. As they talked, Clara shared that she had indeed heard of James's reputation in the technology sector and had always regretted his departure from the industry. Emily enthusiastically told Clara stories about how her daddy helped her with math homework and fixed all her broken toys. Clara found herself genuinely charmed by both the father's intelligence and humility, and the daughter's obvious adoration for her parent. The restaurant staff's attitude completely changed, with servers now treating James and Emily with the utmost respect and courtesy. Other diners who had been cruel earlier made a point of stopping by their table to offer sincere apologies and express admiration for James's character. A group of college students who witnessed the entire evening posted on social media, "Never judge anyone by appearances. The person you mock might be a silent hero." The story spread rapidly across various platforms, inspiring conversations about assumptions, dignity, and the sacrifices parents make for their children. But James showed no interest in leveraging his viral fame or returning to the corporate world that had once defined his identity. He remained focused on Emily's needs and maintaining the stable, loving home environment he had worked so hard to create. Clara, however, was deeply impressed by both James's technical skills and his character. Over the following weeks, she reached out several times with consulting opportunities that would allow him to work from home while Emily was at school. "I need someone with your expertise who also understands the importance of family priorities," she explained. James carefully considered her offers, always ensuring that any work arrangement would support his primary role as Emily's father. Eventually, he accepted a flexible consulting position with Clara's company that provided financial stability while preserving his time with Emily. The arrangement proved beneficial for everyone. James brought innovative solutions to complex technical problems, Clara gained a trusted advisor with unshakable integrity, and Emily got to see her father receive the professional recognition he deserved. 3 months after that transformative dinner, James and Emily returned to the same restaurant as Clara's invited guests. This time, they were greeted warmly by staff who remembered their previous visit and James's helpfulness during the system crisis. Emily wore a new dress that Clara had bought for her, but she still carried the same backpack with her drawings and crayons. "Daddy," she said as they sat down, "I'm glad we didn't leave that night." James smiled and squeezed her hand. "Me too, sweetheart. Sometimes the best things happen when we choose to stay and face difficulties with dignity." Do you believe that one child's innocent words can change an entire life trajectory? If you agree, leave "I believe" in the comments. James and Emily's story shows us that true worth isn't measured by expensive dinners or designer clothing, but by character and integrity under pressure. A little girl's whispered words, "It's okay, Daddy, we can leave," became the moment when a billionaire CEO recognized the quiet strength of a devoted single father. Sometimes kindness and dignity speak louder than wealth or status, opening doors we never expected to find. The most important transformations happen not when we try to impress others, but when we simply remain true to our values regardless of how others treat us. If you believe quiet heroes like James deserve recognition, please share your thoughts and subscribe for more stories that remind us what really matters in life.